All right, well, let's get this over with. Beginner djembe part 2. This time we're going to just go through some patterns. I could call them generic patterns. What I mean by that is that they are used often as a second or third accompaniment in various rhythms that go with the djembe and the dunu bass drums, the Manding tradition from West Africa. And so as such, they're super useful because a few of these are used in many different rhythms. And so for that reason, you could be prepared to jump into a bunch of different rhythms and different feels. You could also use them for a jam session, a dance class, a drum circle, or even a recording session, or even on different kinds of drums like congas and things. So it's great hand drum repertoire to have. And it's a way for you to practice the basic sounds in a more authentic or traditional way. So let's get on with it. So first we're going to talk about rhythms that are in quaternary or binary time, or people normally would say 4/4, meaning 4 beats, cycle, and 4 subdivisions between each beat. So something like this, if this is the beat. See how I'm switching it to have more of a swing feel now, because that's super important as you get into this music. It sounds much better if it swings. So listen, y'all go straight and then swing. Should have warmed up my hands a little, but the sound's going to come. Okay, so first and foremost of these, I hear it called Passport a lot. The late, great Mamadi Keita, rest in peace, called it populaire because he spoke French better than English, so that means obviously popular. So this rhythm, as I said before, can go with a lot of different things. If you play djembe, you've probably heard this before. And I'll put one of the most common, or the most common 4/4 call. Some people call it a break. Call is a more informative word in different situations, so I'll call it a call. If you call it a break, it's fine. So that sounds like this. And sometimes you'll hear it like this. So the slaps at the end, people call that Guinea style and the first one Mali style. Some people say that the first one is older and the new one is more modern. Just whoever you're playing with, if you're playing with a master drummer from Africa, do it the way they want it. And don't talk back for the most part. You know, it depends on your relationship, but just everybody comes from a different tradition and upbringing in the music, and so they're all right because the music varies so much regionally. So anyway, that's just a little tiny bit of advice. Let it go, let it be. Okay, so we're going to do the call and then passport. Ready? Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Sped it up a bit. You should be able to do that for quite a few minutes, 10, 20, 30, and feel really loose and good about it, okay? That's what you're going for. So, you know, but like I said, you can use that in a lot of different situations. Make sure it's really tight with the time, you understand how it fits with the time. While we're on that one, I'm going to give another handing. So the handing I just gave, this might help with the overhead shot, is what most people would call hand-to-hand. Or from drummer lingo, hand to hand means that your body is keeping the subdivisions the smallest common denominator as far as pulsation, keeping that going. You can do it very blatantly and actually make the sounds as ghost notes. That can be really useful in a solo situation, like by yourself. If you're playing with a bunch of people, usually it makes a lot of extra noise. But anyway, and it makes you tired if you have to go really fast and really long. But the idea is the strokes that you're choosing come out of that way of interpreting the grid. So that's what we just did. So you'll see it would look like this. So that goes right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right, right, left, right, left, right. So you see there's two rights in a row. But that's because there's a big space where there's a ghost note. So the other way, it's quite common, is going to go. So you see these four strokes goes right, right, left, right, left. So it's dot, 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 dot. So that's, I've heard people call that hand to hand in another sense. And in other words, the strokes that you're making go right, left, right, left, right, left. But the timing is not the same that the subdivisions work out to hand. Anyway, not too much complication. This is a beginner's lecture after all. So that one, again, I'll do it. Whoops. So that has like a little bit of a different feel. It tends to bring out a different feel. You could work to make them exactly the same feel, but it's this. So there's really like a big space where you can rest, lift up your arms, and then go. So there's two rights in a row there, but it's a huge space between them. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. Next rhythm we're going to do, again, ubiquitous in the djembe repertoire. If you go to a dance class and you're not familiar with the scene, or you're new, somebody's probably going to tell you to play this one. And we could call it one of the main cuckoo patterns from the rhythm cuckoo, but it's all over the place. And so this one, make sure you remember the bass is on the beat, on the downbeat, or you could say the 1 and 3. And also, because some people interpret it wrong, and then they have a really hard time getting the rhythm right. Even though it's not a very hard pattern, you have to have the rhythm oriented to the beat, right? The beat cycle. And what else did I want to say about that? Yes, oh yeah. This one is definitely not hand-to-hand, and there's a really good reason, because you'd be doing almost all the strokes with your dominant hand, and so you'd get tired really fast, or you just couldn't go fast enough. So I'll show you the differences in a minute. So let's do this one. Goes. So if I do hand to hand, it would look like this. Left hand, it's hardly doing anything, see? And there are rhythms that use this version with maybe with the beat on, or the bass on all the beats like this. Maybe a really slow rhythm like Balakul and Jam. But we're the beginning of a ceremony. There's a few that I used to play in northern Côte d'Ivoire, where I spent a lot of time playing. But for the most part, it's going to be that other way. So dominant hand, for me it's right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. So you see this is that other interpretation that some people I've heard use for hand to hand, which is I'm going right, left, right, left, right, left. And this way lets you go really, really fast if you need to. I keep saying fast. Fast is super important if you want to play in a lot of different situations, but also more important is clear and super strong with the timing, not wavering. You just sound like your intention, your mind, everything that you're doing is clear, right? Because that's what helps the group, helps everybody stay together. So I'll do it again, go really fast, and I'm telling you, it does go this fast. I played this in West Africa, and people go as fast as I'm going to go right now. Usually not for a long time. The Western sort of version where this music, or milieu where this music gets played a lot, is often dance classes. And for they're coming out of the ballet tradition, which is very rehearsed and lots of just long sessions, extreme stamina. People will play fast for a long, long time. In a more traditional setting, usually play fast, slow, up and down. Anyway, that's a whole nother subject, but here we go. Faster than that. I feel like this thing makes too much noise. Okay, so while on that subject, this is a little wobbly, but we'll see if I can play both of those together. The reason I want to do that is so you hear how they interact, how they fit together, because that's one of the main things you want to memorize and be totally solid on, is when you hear one of those starts, you know where the other one goes. When you hear the other one start, you know where the first one goes. And also, I want you to listen. I'm going to try, even though I'm playing two at once, to make really strong tones, because that's what the djembe, the hardest thing usually is to make slaps and to make a really distinct, crazy, nice, big slap. But when you're playing accompaniment and solo, the tones are so important. And a lot of people will tell you, as you get into it, tones, stronger tones, because for me, that's one of the main ways the rhythm locks together. The slaps and the bass do that, of course, they do too. They're a different melody going on. But if you have those big tones, I often tell classes and students, like, if you're coming to that celebration or whatever's happening, the playing event, from far away, that's often what you'll hear, you know? Maybe you'll be, if you're walking up toward the event, you might hear then you start hearing the slaps. I mean, that's my experience. And the slaps can just make so much overwhelming noise that you need those tones to just really ground the rhythm. That's how I feel about it. Okay, So I'm going to play Passport on my right hand because it's got more notes. My right hand's stronger. And then the, let's call it accompaniment number 2 on this left hand over here. So. Hopefully that's helpful. Okay, so now we're going to get into ternary rhythms. There are several different feel families, but we won't get into that. Just suffice it to say that these are rhythms that have 3 subdivisions on each beat. So, and 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. A lot of people will call this 6/8. Most people, Afro-Cuban people or Latin players will even call it 6x8 in Spanish. And so that's great. Kind of like my other discussion about the different breaks. So yeah, let's call it 6/8. Call it 6/8. But I just want you to know that 12/8 is a better name because it's usually a 4-beat cycle. And all that 12/8 means is 4 beats with 3 subdivisions, right? And the thing that you notate it with is called an 8th note. So 4 times 3, there's 12 of them. Incredibly powerful feel all over Africa because 4 times 3 is 12, 3 times 4 is 12, 2 times 6 is 12, 6 times 2 is 12. So you have all these potential different meters, I like to call them. Some people will use different names, different meters built in. So you can play in 3 and 4 at the same time without bending or going to some huge subdivision to have a common denominator. 12 is already your common denominator, and it's the main feel of the rhythm. Anyway, we won't get into that on this video, but also I'm going to give 2 super common, often played together in rhythms like Manjani, Dunumba, Domba, or Suku, or Soli, same name, different names, sorry, the same rhythm. Yeah, a lot of different ternary rhythms. So there's 2 different breaks that go with the 2 feel families. So I will give you the 2 breaks, but not get into how to distinguish the families so much. But so 1 is going to go, okay, super common, Manjani, Dunumba, Garangedon, things like that. Okay, and the other break, hear that? Okay, so Maraca, Ja, yeah, so a lot of different rhythms. Mine's blanking a little. So, I'm going to play the first break and the first pattern, which goes slap, tone, slap. So those slaps, in both of these patterns, the slaps are right on every beat. And it's just where the tones are placed that gives them that differentiates them and makes them fit together in a really nice way. So, first one. also there's different handings for that. Some people will tell you to do it like this. So I'm putting all the slaps in my dominant hand, my right hand for me. Should have warmed up my left hand today. It's not making nice tones. So you got to work on that. Okay, and there's also the possibility of a bass. It's very common, so that you get kind of a shuffle rhythm in this whole thing. So and then the other handing, which tends to be easier, I guess. It'll off some players will tell their people to play that when it goes fast. I can say in northern Cote d'Ivoire and Mali, where I spent a lot of time, I had older players, older people tell me this way, which is the hand-to-hand, that's the real way. And I like it. It feels nice because you get this shuffle feeling going back and forth in your body, like skipping. You know, it's actually like what you do when you skip with your feet, right? Okay, but the other way I was going to show you, so you can practice both, is okay. Next rhythm we're going to have, second other super common one goes with this one. Same slaps on every beat, but two tones in between, and they're on the second and fourth beats instead of this one with the one tone that's on the first and third beats. So that one, that's a slap, empty beat, slap, tone, tone, slap. So I'm starting that little sequence with my non-dominant hand so that I end on my dominant hand. And I could say, super important thing to understand is that when you play hand to hand and the grouping is 3, in this case the beat grouping, the subdivision, it's 3 per beat, as I said, the beat will switch hands, right? Because it's an odd number. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2, 3, 2, 2, 3, 3, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1 triplet, 2 triplet, 3 triplet, 4 triplet. So that's the why you'll see the handing that you're going to see here. So we have you might have noticed in this and the other rhythms when I got faster, whereas I might have been doing a little bit of ghosting or hand-to-hand kind of just movement, when you get faster, and you'll learn this, but I'm going to tell you now so that you can remember to work on it or give you a little speed boost, you have to be able to drop all those micro movements out, and then you fill the time instead, because these fill the time, they help you keep locked into the groove, but instead you fill the time with the movements up, and that actually lets you rest, right? So you saw I was going, I'm exaggerating now. Likewise with the passport. Rather than this. If that makes sense, great. If it doesn't, that's okay. Just something to put in the brain. I tell students that all the time. Like, I can't tell everybody at the same time exactly what they need, but I have a lot of lessons I've learned from doing this for many, many years and spending many years in Africa. And so I like to just give whatever I can so that you put it in the memory bank and it'll come out to serve you when you need it. I know that's happened to me many times, more than I could come up with at the top of my head. So, what's next? That's, I want to give you a lot more from there. Oh yeah, I do remember something else I want to say, is that those two rhythms, those two ternary rhythms, remember I said the tones are on different sides. So the way that they fit together, I have a rhythm that I like to play, use it in different situations, maybe with congas, or if there's not a whole bunch of djembe players and I want to fill both spots. So what I'm going to do is play all the slaps, as each of those rhythms have, with this hand, this drum, and then the first rhythm, I'm going to put the one tone on this other drum, and then the two tones from the second rhythm I'll keep here. So it's basically this one with an extra tone over here, so that you hear that melody the way it goes back and forth. Of course, we won't have the harmony of the slaps from both drums, but you'll still hear the melody, okay, of the tones. You can also do that same thing on one drum just by using the bass. And I'm not saying, you know, to use this all the time or in every situation. In certain situations, it might be really fast. You might have a very particular master drummer who you're playing with who says, just don't do that. Stop making all that extra noise. I just want slap, tone, slap, slap, tone, slap. Go with it. But these are just likewise with the playing two drums at the same time. You know, I'm not saying you have to learn that or that you should try and do that in a dance class or something like that. These are just, you can call them exercises that also help with understanding. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to do it like what I just said. Slaps all here, the two tones from the second here, the one tone over here. So we're going to hear it like this. Okay, I think that's enough for now. I hope that's really helpful for those of you who are getting into this music, and practice those up. And there's one of the things that's amazing about djembe as a traditional traditional tradition, that doesn't sound right, to learn, is that there are so many different parts. And we're not even talking about the bass drums, the dunus, that play with bells and sticks and things. So there are just so many different rhythms with different parts that interlock. So there's just lots and lots and lots to learn. But this is a foundation of parts that you can use all over the place in two different fields. So I think it can really help you to get going, and to get also to just, if you're by yourself, get your hands used to a lot of different movements that'll also help you in a group situation. So that's all. Thank you for watching this far, and I hope this really helps you out. And like and subscribe and all that. Please give me comments if there's anything you want to know, or that I can do better, or any other questions I can answer for you. Let me know. Peace and blessings.